Hello everybody, I'm Colton and welcome to yet another video of me talking about a random game. What game is it, you may ask? I know you didn't ask because it's in the title, but it's Dead Rising 2. This could seem like a very random game in general or a zombie game for me to talk about, but for some reason, it's always been so nostalgic to me. Not to mention, sometimes mindless fun can be great. The series went downhill in my opinion after Dead Rising 2 off the record really. But mainly 4 was just really disappointing. But out of all like the original ones, 2 is definitely my favorite by far. And I mean, the weapon combinations, survivors, psychopaths, and main story are always why it's so memorable to me. And in this video, I'd just like to talk about why I like the game and my 5 favorite and least favorite survivors or like survivor groups. Because if I did that, then if I did like each individual one from each group, that'd be like dumb. And I'll also talk about like my favorite and least favorite psychopaths. I don't know how many I'll do for that because there isn't as many, but yeah. And obviously talk about the main story. Throughout, I'll also just randomly talk about like the other game mechanics, like the vehicles, weapons, shortcuts, and so on. Obviously, spoilers ahead, but this game is pretty old. So if you haven't played it yet, that's kind of on you. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. At the start of the game, you find out you're Chuck Green in a motocross-esque competition called Terrorist Reality, and it's where you decimate zombies with a chainsaw bike. And this perfectly sets the tone for the game. The arena lights, chaos, and just everything giving off what you're going to be seeing all game. Eventually you should win this. I mean, it isn't very hard. That's kind of why it's like a little tutorial thing. And then when you're done, the outbreak will start, and you have to save your daughter or whatever because she was in the green room and there's like these 2 zombies in there. You then run to the local safe house with some survivors, and you meet Stacy, who is clearly like the kinda love interest thing, and then Sullivan, who is definitely not a bad guy. Definitely not. And once you do that, you find out about getting Katie Zombirex and how saving survivors works. And also how you have to fight other people as well, with you having to take down some looters in the pharmacy. And your entire purpose in the main story is to prove that you're innocent, as you've been blamed for the outbreak. You also quickly find out about crafting weapon combos, though what always sticks out so much to me is the atmosphere. The different malls you walk through, the pinks and blues in Fortune Park in the evening are awesome, and even the food court and arena. Each place has a unique personality. Even with no context, I could tell you which malls or casinos you're showing me. I don't know, they do always stick with me. And while I think all of them are great, my favorites definitely have to be the Palisades Mall, Food Court, and Silver Strip. The Palisades for the overall bright atmosphere, the fun stores that provide many weapons that are cool to use, the survivors that are cool to get, and the psychopath fight, which I'll get to later, is a lot of fun there too. The food court just has a lot of character, with places like the Jelly Bean store, the rooftops of the area, the multiple like barbecue areas, and the fine dining area with its own boss too. And the Silver Strip is my favorite outside area because the lighting throughout the day, but especially later in the day, is just great. And it has like that roof cover over it that has a whole bunch of lights up on it, which I just find to be really awesome. And the alleyways all have unique combo weapons set up for you to make with multiple different maintenance rooms. And you get a bike there as well to cause vehicular carnage to zombies. And there's also another car you can get, which is the red Hummer, which is kind of a cool one too. Also, just the different shops there all provide unique insides with bars, shops, and small casinos. Some other places I'd like to bring up are the Yucatan Casino, with the dark lighting being unique, and the Shoal nightclub adding onto that atmosphere within it. It gives like rave energy, I don't know. And despite it being gray, the South Plaza being an unfinished mall is just a cool idea to me. You even fight someone there, and it utilizes the scaffolding you see throughout it. And it even has worker zombies in the unfinished stores, keeping track with how the outbreak just abruptly happened and these workers got infected. My least favorite place in the whole game, I don't hate it, it's just my least favorite, is probably the underground. It's kind of unfair because it makes sense that it's just like a transit thing and it's kind of gray, like underground pathway. to get product from place to place throughout the area, but it still lacks all the cool things the other places have. Though everywhere else has such unique atmospheres that I seem to interact with differently every single time. Even just the nostalgia of all the areas hits me. As when I first started playing video games, I played this. It was probably like my third or fourth Xbox game, and it's always been such a great memory to me. I could go on forever about the different sections of Fortune City, but I'm going to stop myself so I can get to the next section. I love the aspects of survivors in these earlier Dead Rising games. Most people may say, how are these even memorable? There are so many, these are just fetch quests, and I would disagree. Well, yes, you are going out and getting something, and this instance is different. Each survivor has a different personality, a different situation they were in, and sometimes different states they are in with how they can get around. First, I'm going to start with my 5 least favorite survivor or survivor groups, and then talk about my most favorite. These are in no order, by the way. For my least favorite, I'd like to start this with Woodrow. What a loser. Like, yes, I'm happy you gave me the money after I rescued you, but the fact that you were actively making me follow you around to different ATMs because you needed your money is wild. I wish I could have left that man out there, honestly. Next up is Stuart and Brittany. Stuart is the main reason they're here. He literally is just a nuisance through and through. He tries to risk his life to take money at the casino, and Brittany just gives into him. It's not really her fault, but unfortunately, you saved them together. Also, Stuart's model is used 3 times. Like, how are you everywhere all at once? And he even tries to cause a mutiny too because he doesn't trust you, even though you saved his life. Like, what an idiot. And the whole reason he was trying to get the money is because he wanted, like, worker compensation, which is so dumb. Oh my god, he's just my least favorite. Now on to BB. And her group, she has in captivity, because she's one of those like psychopath turned survivor if you successfully do all the tasks. It's fairly easy, and I know it's probably basic, but I just really can't stand her. I get it's the point, but the way they do it makes her just boring as well. She just seems way too static. Even when she realizes they're zombies, she hasn't seemed to change much, and the group she's with kind of lack personality. Which in most cases, it isn't like that. Bill is up next from Know When to Fold 'Em. Again, this may be a standard pick, but this man is literally risking his life to gamble for his money back. Now, I get it, some people may want to gamble, cool idea. I can't knock him for that. But his entire logic is just a straight up fallacy, and he didn't want to ride the lows. You got to do it in moderation. So then you have to give him $20,000 because that's what he's down, and then he has the audacity to ask for $5,000 more dollars, which is ridiculous, absolutely wild. But after you do that, you can finally take him back and get him out of your little survivor group, and I was happy for that. Last, and certainly least, is Matthew and Michael, who are Marines you save while carrying Rebecca back from the Sergeant Boykin boss fight. They're the last survivors you save, and that makes sense for how hard they are to save. They both are outside shooting at zombies behind a barricade. It's after the roided zombies are brought in the fold, so they've been stranded. You have to make sure to have no guns in your inventory, or they will attack you. You talk to Michael to get them to come, but Matthew is hurt, so you have to walk him, even though Rebecca has to be carried. That's the predicament. And I get that's a cool idea, but it's just really annoying to deal with that, especially at this point in the game. Not to mention that their personalities aren't even that bad. I mean, Matthew doesn't really have one, but Michael's alright. It's just the whole setup of it is just really annoying. And also the barricades are like in this really glitchy position, and I don't like it. But luckily what I realized is Rebecca's health doesn't go down at all if you leave her out, because she's the main character. And the only way that she'll die is if the main bar for the mission goes away. And once I found that out, I just left Rebecca outside, carried Matthew, and Michael followed me to the safe house. And then I ran all the way back to Rebecca and got her in time. They're just very inconvenient, and I hate where they're placed as well. Just everything about it's just not great. But now I can get on to my favorites. First up is the Tape It or Die crew. This definitely could be a basic take, but I do enjoy the multiple step process in getting them. You have to find them in their bunker in the sports store while at the Palisades Mall, and they only show up for about an hour or two in game time. To be honest with you, the only way that I found them was by looking up a guide, because I really had no idea where, if I didn't have the guide, I would have had no idea where they were. Even whenever I played the game without one, I found every survivor except these groups. And when you find them, they give you a combo card, which is pretty cool, but they won't leave the area just yet. And I mean, it's interesting. I like the little bunker area. Though when the armed forces show up, their place gets destroyed, and you get a call to save them in Act 6, which you don't normally get. All of them have their different personalities, and each of them have a different role in the group, with one being like the cameraman, one being the guy who comes up with the ideas, and one being the one that builds the combo weapons. And whenever you save them, they even give you 2 more combo cards. What absolute legends. All around, top tier. Another one that's a group are the Rockers. They are all at the stage and are also British, which you come to find out. You talk to them about the safe house and how you're going to take them there, and they just casually agree to come. You don't have to sit there and beg them. 90% of these people. I don't understand why they need to be begged to get saved, but they actually just agree with you. And they casually blast their amps to annihilate the zombies around the area. The singer is their leader who talks with you, and her style and everything is super cool. They also give you a combo card that's one of my favorites, this overly amplified guitar, and literally whenever you use it, it explodes the heads off the zombies around you. Just all around an awesome group to save, and they're just so cool. I can't say it enough, they're just an awesome group. Snowflake is the next survivor I absolutely love saving. She's a tiger. What? How can it get any cooler than that? You find her in the Yucatan with a psychopath you can take out pretty easily. His name's Ted. It doesn't take very long. And then she can either be killed or tamed. You should always choose to tame her, in my opinion. And you have to do this by feeding her 3 steaks. She'll try to attack you and stuff, but you have to try to place the steak in between you and her, and she'll walk up to it, eat it, and then her health bar will go up. And once you do that 3 times, it fills up. And she'll become a survivor, and you can bring her back to the safe house. She also can't get stopped on the way. She just takes out zombies so easily. It's just awesome. And she's also a gift for Katie, which is another cool thing. You can give your daughter in the game gifts, and that's one of them. Top tier. Another survivor that's great is Lynette from the Wilted Flower Quest. She was in a tanning bed, and once the apocalypse started, she was left there and got burnt. And you have to bring her a drink and also carry her. She's just a funny one. It always reminds me of that scene from Final Destination 3 for some reason. But the biggest part that makes her great is the secret passage she shows you in Brand New You. It takes the most inconvenient walk in the game, which is to the Palisades, by making an instant passage from there to the Royal Flush Plaza, directly where you need to be to go to the safe house. It helps so much. I cannot encapsulate just how much it helps. Now for our final person in my most favorite group, Sven from Code Blue. He's a paramedic that tries to save a life of a dying guy, but he just couldn't. Though he comes with you to the safe house, even though he's upset he couldn't help the guy. Once he arrives at the safe house, he literally gives you Zombrex, which is clutch for another person you save who's been bitten, and he's like in Willie's Travels on the 2nd floor of the Royal Flush. And also later you have a follow-up quest with him where you get him a drink to clean wounds, and he just drinks it. And also gives you a Zombrex. What a respectable fellow. There are so many more survivors that are great. I mean, just countless ones. But if I went over all of them, it would just take so long. Now, it's Psychopath time. So for Psychopath, since there isn't as many as survivors, I'm just going to talk about a few I like and dislike, not going to be sticking with the 5 and 5 thing. Starting off with dislike is the entire sniper group. They start coming out in the middle of the game and just shoot at you until you get rid of them. You have to go to 4 different rooftops to get rid of them. They all just don't have personality, and you can just fight them on boring rooftops. Just not at all my thought of what would be fun for them. I can't even remember which one is which. They just lack what other most bosses have in the game and do right, which is having actual character. And honestly, they just provide more of a nuisance of you getting survivors back and forth, because they'll just target the survivors. It's just really annoying. So obviously I try to take them out as soon as I can, but it's just irritating. Another one I don't really care for is Leon Bell, who you fight and meet the contestants. He's just an annoying former fan who wants to be better than Chuck on Terror's Reality, but sneaks at it. He's very easy to take out, getting easily stuck on obstacles. I just don't care for the randomly former fan route they take with him. Also, I feel like there's a villain who does what he wants to do a whole lot better. And now for some of my favorites. I really enjoy Slappy from Everyone Knows Slappy. He's an eerie one for sure, as you find his girl part mascot dead and he blames you for it. And this is because he thinks you started the outbreak just like everybody else. He pesters you until eventually he takes you on. Straight up a super fun fight. He has a flamethrower he shoots at you and roller skates around, which gives him a lot of mobility. Not to mention his personality adding on it. Just how delusional he is. This is a great example of what a boss fight should be in this game. And it's just a great placement for him. There's also Tastes Like Chicken, which is a chef who you fight. And he's captured one person because he's putting human meat in his food. But you end up finding this Jasper guy who tells you about him on the rooftop across in the food court. And you can like set him and leave him there. And then you go save Cinda by taking out the chef. And she won't go with you until you get Jasper. So then you'll go back get him, and then they'll reconvene, and then they'll both come with you. It's just really cool. Another top tier one is Seymour from WWJWD. He's a former security guard who has now taken his chance in the outbreak to be what he thinks is the law. He's a Western obsessed guy, and they show that so blatantly, and honestly that aspect is hilarious to me. His boss fight is also fun, as he takes your weapons away, runs around decently fast, and really makes you want to just get rid of him. But he does it in the right way. It feels very rewarding taking this psychopath out. You also get his revolver after, which is one of the best weapons in the game in my opinion. It literally does so much damage, and it has like 60 bullets or something like that. It's crazy. Next up is definitely the biggest spoiler, but again, it's a very old game, and I prefaced that at the beginning. TK is a great boss to have to fight. He was a perfect choice for the final boss fight. Most of the reasons why come in the main story section, so I won't go over all of that. But the time where you fight him is overtime, and he takes Katie and Stacy, and you just have to bring the stuff he wants to the arena to convince him to give them back. He ends up just tasing you and tries to kill you and them by dropping you down into zombies, but Chuck climbs up and is ready to fight him. And this fight is the definition of fun. You have to use the crank to pull Katie and Stacy up while you're fighting him. If you want food or a weapon, you have to run around an obstacle course, essentially. And the best way, in my opinion, to fight him is letting him charge you and you countering him. This gives you the upper hand for a moment and lets you have some fun quick time moments too. And it lets you get a few good hits in. He's constantly running around fast and strikes fast. Just an amazing final villain for the game, and encapsulates just what I want in a psychopath fight. Coming up next is a speed round. So we're going to go quick for these. I'm literally just going to talk as fast as I can. My most favorite combo weapon is the boxing gloves with knives. Just a fun time. Reminds me of Freddy Krueger, pretty cool idea. Literally just slices people up. It's really fun. Old Reliable Spike Bat is up there. I mean, as a Steve from Stranger Things fan, perfectly fitting. I love this bat. Amplified guitar, top tier. I love electric guitar weapon, just fun. And I also like the stronger version of the frequency gun for the zombies you can make, where it makes all their heads explode or it just blasts through them and they all die. And some honorable mentions are the flaming sword and shield and the plate gun. There's so many, countless more that are super fun, but these are the ones I always find great. Main story time. So the main story revolves around Chuck being framed for the outbreak as the disgruntled man who lost his wife. And you have Rebecca Chang, who takes a chance on you to find out who really caused it. You and her find leads together and have to take on many different styles of missions. Also, while this is going on, you have to take Katie, her Zombirex, as well, or you just fail it if you don't. Act 1 is mostly just finding information. You're just walking around with Rebecca back and forth pretty much, trying to find out what's going on. And you find a security guard who took his own... It's either... I don't know if he took his own life or somebody took him out, but they destroyed all the information. Act 2 is when you realize that TK clearly had something to do with it. And he tries to escape on a train, but you have a bike and you have to sit there and ride around. And I will say this can be my least favorite or favorite part, because if you hit any jump, it launches you forward because it wants you to get the cutscene. But literally sometimes it'll just not do what you wanted to do, or your bike will get stuck. It's really annoying. But once you jump on, you fight some mercenaries, and then once you get to the end, you find out he gets away anyway. But now you know for sure something is up. Act 3 is when you have to prevent him from stealing money from the casino vaults in the area. He tries to do all this and make a big getaway, and it's clearly just him being greedy, and it kind of jacks him up. Not to mention, I mean, you put a stop to it pretty much. It does create a hole in this one area that allows you to have like a shortcut. I think it's the Atlantica casino it does that in. So that does exist. But you have to take out 3 drills and then a armored car as well. But then once you reach Act 4, Rebecca gets captured by her source that she says she has, which ends up being the twins from the terrorist reality show. They each fight you at the same time, but you just have to take out one. And then they'll, they have their little cutscene, They did tell Rebecca about TK planning to escape on a helicopter to get out of the city, though. And so you stake out the area in Act 5 on top of the safe house. And you end up having to knock his helicopter down by throwing objects at it in Act 5 too. I always find this fight pretty fun. It's not very hard, but the whole concept is just a cool idea. Having to take down a helicopter strapped to a crane is just wacky, and it fits this game just well. It really does. And eventually, once you hit enough times, it'll fall down, and then you capture TK and attach him to the bed, to like a stretcher, and he's just sitting there. Case 6 is where you enter what you think is like the final phase of the game. The military arrives and gets quickly taken out because green gas starts coming out in the area and made the zombies a lot stronger. A sergeant watches all his men die in front of him. Rebecca follows the military to film what was going on, and she ends up getting captured by another psycho you have to fight, Sergeant Boykin. So you have to run through all this area, these new zombies that are there, and once you arrive, you can clearly see he's not in his right mind anymore after watching that tragic turn of events. He thinks you're a zombie and wants to kill you, and also he thinks that his group of forces are still alive, but they're just not. I'd recommend bringing a lot of ranged weapons for this boss fight. I took him down pretty easy. It wasn't too bad, but the grenades were pretty annoying. But it honestly makes sense because he only throws them whenever you're in an area he can't quite get to. And I mean, that frags you out. That's like the point. After the fight though, you find Rebecca and find out she can't walk, so you have to carry her back to the safe house. You have it's just you walking from there literally back, through the same way you came. And once you have a small cutscene, the safe house ends up being breached and the zombies enter it. And you get to see a whole bunch of survivors fight off the zombies as you have to get a generator, spool of wire, and gas can to hotwire the door shut. So you place them all down, and then it's just a spamming A sesh for a minute. And finally, the door will close. Also, you find out the city could be firebombed, which would kill all of the survivors and you, because the media doesn't know that anyone is alive. At the start of Case 7, you find out that Tyrone, or TK, has escaped his restraints, but he gets stopped when he gets bitten by a zombie. So to get the good ending, you have to give him Zombirex, so I of course did. I wish I didn't have to, but nah, I'm just playing. I'm glad I did, because I like the fight later. And after this, the gang reviews the footage Rebecca recorded, and Chuck decides to investigate the underground since that's where the gas came from. Once you go underground and navigate for a bit, you can find a large door. They open it up to let zombies in, so you go in. Whoever this group is uses a very high frequency to take out all the zombies, which shows you the strong zombies' weaknesses. The other people in the room realize you're a human that's infiltrated, and you have to go up and take the mercenary guys out. Then you can navigate your way to the back area where you find an elevator, and once you go up, you fight two very easy scientist guys. You also get a cutscene where Chuck drinks their coffee after taking them down. What a legend. He finds out it was Phenotrans from the computer they had, which is the major corporation behind Zombrex. You take the laptop back and show it to the group. Rebecca and Stacy are happy you found it, and Rebecca sees that Phenotrans clearly did this to drive up the need for Zombrex and encourage more people to buy it. As since the last outbreak, less people have purchased the medicine because they haven't been as scared about the zombie presence anymore. And one thing that I haven't brought up this entire time is how Sullivan has been trying to push you away from doing all of this. The only thing he's done is gotten you to gather all the survivors in the safe house, but for the most part, he's just been sitting there trying to convince you that all this isn't as big as you think it is, and everything will be figured out in no time. But what you find out, abruptly, as soon as Rebecca decides to call her station, BAM! Sullivan shoots Rebecca straight in the head, and he reveals that he works for Phenotrans and attempts killing the rest. But Stacy hits the gun out of his hands with a bat, but when Chuck picks it up, Sullivan runs off. Stacy tries to track him on the cameras while you look around. Eventually, she spots him on the Yucatan Casino rooftop. Once you make your way there, it was clearly being worked on or something, as you can see from all the scaffolding and wood placement, and there are many zombies around. He's up at the top planning to make his big exit. He also gives his spiel about how lawmakers and higher-ups in general use Zombrex, and how this will help people like that get the Zombrex they need. And tries to convince him they're doing the right thing. Obviously, Chuck disagrees, and you fight him. Again, ranged weapons helped a lot. And also food. I mowed him down with an LMG and sniper rifle, and after taking that man down, the helicopter shoots a flare to knock you down, and Sullivan still tried to escape. But Chuck attaches a carabiner, which was attached to the railing, to Sullivan's belt, and when the parachute gets grabbed, it pulls Sullivan completely apart. Finally, the truth has been found out, and you can escape along with the survivors. But when the rescue arrives, Stacy and Katie are nowhere to be found. So you go back inside and you realize that TK is gone and he took them both. This is when you enter overtime. And you have to make your way all around Fortune City to get TK items he needs. This includes a compromising photo, gift basket, expensive champagne, USB drive, lab coat, and a case of Queens. And also a mobile headset. You then have to bring all of that to the arena for him, but once you arrive, he incapacitates you, and you arrive at the boss fight I talked about earlier, so I'm going to skim through it. You have to keep Katie and Stacy up while fighting him, and once you finish him off finally, you have a cutscene where he tries to kill you again. But you throw him over the side, and now finally Chuck can rescue Stacy and Katie. They all three leave and get to escape. This is the S ending of the game, and always what I feel like you should attempt to get to experience absolutely everything. Overall, to me, it's a pretty fun main story to follow while doing all of your other side quests. It kept me intrigued even though it may have been decently obvious from the start. It's always a fun time, and I always enjoy playing all of it. I don't have some big grandiose statement for this game like the last couple. It's just fun. Even after playing it this time, the nostalgia stays with me always. And I just always have so much fun playing it through. Every aspect of the game has high replayability to me, and there are so many different ways you can go through the game and just enjoy your time in the zombie game. It will always be one of my favorites, and I never will mind revisiting it. If you made it here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I know it may still be rough around the edges, but I've been trying to get better at these kinds of videos. They are my favorite kind, and I hope y'all enjoy them too. I've been Colton. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.